They bore witness to the unfolding tragedy with detached indifference. The Galactic Council chamber was a monolithic structure, carved from obsidian-like stone that seemed to drink in the light around it. Its vaulted ceilings stretched impossibly high, and its walls were adorned with holographic projections of star systems under its dominion. 100 alien species sat in judgment. Their forms varied, some reptilian, others insectoid, some encased in metallic shells that hummed faintly with life. Their voices buzzed and clicked in a cacophony of languages, unified only by the synthetic translation system embedded into the chamber. At the center of the room stood a single human child. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old, her small frame dwarfed by the towering presence of the Council's tribunal. Her name was Lila, and she had been accused of an act so absurd it bordered on the surreal. Genetic contamination of a protected species. It wasn't her fault, of course. She had wandered too close to one of the alien habitats during a diplomatic mission with her parents. But the Council needed a scapegoat, and humans had always been easy targets. Lila's wide brown eyes darted nervously across the room. Her tiny hands clutched the hem of her dress, and her lips trembled as she tried to understand why these strange beings looked at her with such cold disdain. Her translator implant whispered their words into her ear, but they might as well have been speaking gibberish. The sentence was passed swiftly: execution. No trial, no deliberation, just a cold, clinical decision made by beings who saw humanity as little more than an upstart race barely worthy of acknowledgement. Her parents screamed, their cries echoing through the chamber as guards dragged them away. Lila's sobs were muffled by the heavy silence that followed, and then, before anyone could intervene, a beam of searing light descended from the ceiling, enveloping the child in an instant. When it faded, there was nothing left of her but a faint wisp of smoke. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. The news reached Earth within hours. The broadcast was intercepted by every major network. The footage replayed endlessly until it was burned into the minds of billions. The sight of Lila standing alone, the merciless decree, the flash of light, it ignited something primal in humanity. Grief turned to rage, and rage became resolve. For centuries, Earth had played the role of the underdog, the scrappy newcomer to the galactic stage. They had endured the sneers, the condescension, the thinly veiled threats, but this was different. Deep beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean, hidden within a fortress of titanium and reinforced alloys, a council of Earth's most powerful leaders convened. The room was stark and utilitarian, lit by harsh fluorescent lights that cast long shadows across the faces of those gathered. Military generals, scientists, politicians, they all shared the same grim expression. Admiral Jonathan Kane, a grizzled veteran with steel-gray hair and a voice like gravel, stood at the head of the table. His uniform was crisp, his medals gleaming under the artificial light. He spoke with the weight of history behind him. "They've crossed the line," he said, his voice steady, but laced with fury. "They think we're weak. They think we'll roll over and accept this atrocity. But they've forgotten one thing." He paused, letting the silence stretch out, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. "We are not what we seem." A murmur rippled through the room. Kane leaned forward, his piercing blue eyes scanning the faces before him. "For decades, we've kept our true capabilities hidden. The Sigma fleet, our greatest achievement, our ace in the hole, has remained dormant, waiting for a moment like this. Ladies and gentlemen, that moment has arrived." "The Sigma fleet?" It was a name spoken only in whispers, a legend even among those in the highest echelons of power, a fleet of warships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, built in secret using technology reverse engineered from ancient alien artifacts discovered on Mars. Each ship was a masterpiece of engineering, bristling with weapons capable of tearing apart entire armadas. And now, for the first time, they would see the light of day. The launch was a spectacle of fire and thunder. Massive hangar doors, hidden beneath the ocean's surface, groaned open as the first of the Sigma ships ascended. The Leviathan-class dreadnoughts were sleek and menacing, their hulls black as midnight and etched with glowing lines of blue energy. Smaller frigates and destroyers flanked them, their engines roaring as they pierced the atmosphere and disappeared into the void. On board the flagship Erebus, Admiral Kane stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. The crew moved with precision, their faces set with determination. The air crackled with anticipation. "Set course for the Galactic Council's homeworld," Kane ordered. "It's time we reminded them who we are." The journey was swift. The Sigma fleet, cutting through hyperspace like a blade through water. As they approached the Council's territory, resistance was immediate. Alien warships swarmed to intercept them, their designs as varied as the species that piloted them, but they were no match for humanity's wrath. The first battle was a symphony of destruction. Plasma cannons roared, missiles streaked through the darkness, and railguns fired with devastating accuracy. The alien ships fell like leaves in a storm, their shields unable to withstand the relentless assault. On board the Erebus, Kane watched the carnage unfold on the tactical display, his expression unreadable. "Send a message to the Council," he said. "Tell them we're coming." The Council's homeworld was a jewel in the cosmos, a planet of crystalline spires and shimmering lakes, but as the Sigma fleet emerged from hyperspace, it became a battlefield. The Council's defenses were formidable orbital platforms armed with energy weapons, squadrons of fighter craft, and planetary shields that glowed like a second sun. Yet, for all their might, they were unprepared for the ferocity of humanity's attack. The Erebus led the charge, its main cannon firing a beam of concentrated energy that sliced through the largest orbital platform like a hot knife through butter. Explosions blossomed in the vacuum, silent but deadly, as debris rained down on the planet below. The smaller Sigma ships darted between enemy formations, their agility and firepower turning the tide of battle. Amid the chaos, an unexpected transmission came through. It was from an alien species known as the Koran, fierce warriors with a code of honor that rivaled humanity's own. Their leader, a towering figure clad in ornate armor, appeared on the view screen. "We have watched the Council's tyranny for too long," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "Your fight is just humans. We will stand with you." And just like that, the tide shifted further. The Koran fleet joined the fray, their ships unleashing a barrage of firepower that sent the Council's forces reeling together. Humans and Koran fought side by side, their unlikely alliance forged in the crucible of war. As the battle raged, Kane received word that the Council's leaders were attempting to flee. Their escape ship was cloaked, but the Sigma fleet's advanced sensors quickly pinpointed its location. Kane gave the order without hesitation. "Bring them in, alive." The Erebus deployed a specialized boarding team, their suits equipped with adaptive camouflage and cutting-edge weaponry. They breached the Council's ship with surgical precision, subduing the alien leaders and dragging them back to the flagship. In the Erebus's war room, the captured Council members were forced to kneel before Kane, Their once arrogant expressions were now masks of fear. "You thought you could kill one of our children and face no consequences," Kane said, his voice cold as ice. "You thought wrong." One of the aliens, a serpentine creature with scales that shimmered like oil, hissed in defiance. "You cannot defy the Council. The galaxy will unite against you." Kane stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "Let them try. We've faced extinction before. We've clawed our way back from the brink, and every time we've come out stronger. You wanted to see what humanity is capable of? Now you know." He turned to his officers. "Broadcast their surrender to every corner of the galaxy. Let everyone see what happens when you cross us." The war ended as quickly as it began. The Council, broken and humiliated, was forced to sign a treaty recognizing humanity's sovereignty and granting them a permanent seat at the table. The Sigma fleet returned to Earth, their mission accomplished, their place in history secured, but the cost was not forgotten. In the quiet moments that followed, Kane found himself staring out at the stars, thinking of Lila. Her face haunted him, a reminder of why they had fought, why they had unleashed the full might of their hidden power. "We're here because of you," he murmured, "and we won't forget." The stars continued to shine, cold and distant, but now they bore witness to something new, a humanity that refused to be underestimated, a humanity that had claimed its rightful place among the stars. The galaxy was not the same after that day. The echoes of humanity's retaliation rippled across star systems, carried on waves of fear and awe. For centuries, the Galactic Council had been the unchallenged authority, a monolithic power that dictated the terms of existence for countless civilizations, but now their invincibility had been shattered, their arrogance laid bare. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every city, town, and village. The streets were filled with people chanting, waving flags, and lighting up the night sky with fireworks. It wasn't just a victory, it was vindication. For too long, humanity had been treated as second-class citizens in the galactic community, dismissed as primitive and impulsive. Now, they had proven their worth in the most undeniable way possible. But beneath the surface of jubilation, there was a quiet undercurrent of reflection. The cost of victory weighed heavily on those who had fought to achieve it. Admiral Kane, now hailed as a hero, spent his days reviewing reports from the war, reading letters from families who had lost loved ones in the battles. He didn't attend the parades or the ceremonies held in his honor. Instead, he stayed aboard the Erebus, orbiting Earth like a silent sentinel. One evening, as the ship floated above the planet's twinkling lights, Kane stood alone on the observation deck. The room was dimly lit, the only illumination coming from the vast expanse of stars outside. He sipped a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the faint glow of the galaxy beyond. His thoughts drifted back to Lila, the child whose death had sparked it all. Her face was etched into his memory, a symbol of innocence lost and justice demanded. "Admiral," came a voice from behind him. It was Commander Elena Voss, his second-in-command. She was younger than Kane, sharp-eyed and fiercely loyal, her uniform always immaculate. She approached him cautiously, sensing the weight of his thoughts. "What is it, Commander?" Kane asked without turning around. "We've received a message," she said. "From the Corran." Kane raised an eyebrow and turned to face her. "What do they want?" "They're requesting a meeting," Voss replied. "Their leader, High Warlord Krenthar, wants to discuss an alliance." Kane set his glass down on the railing and folded his arms. "An alliance? After everything we've been through, I'm surprised they're not asking us to stay out of their affairs." Voss smiled faintly. "It seems our actions have earned their respect. They see us as equals now." Kane nodded slowly. Set it up. Let's hear what they have to say. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a massive space station orbiting a dying star, its light casting long shadows across the station's metallic corridors. The Corran delegation arrived in full ceremonial armor, their towering forms imposing but regal. High Warlord Krenthar led them, his presence commanding yet strangely approachable. His golden eyes locked onto Kane's as they exchanged formal greetings. Admiral Kane, Krenthar said, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. You are a warrior of great honor. Your people have shown strength and resolve that few in this galaxy possess. And you've proven yourselves to be allies worth fighting alongside? Kane replied, What's on your mind, Warlord? Krenthar gestured for his aides to step back, leaving the two leaders to speak privately. The Galactic Council is weakened, but they are not defeated. Their power runs deep, their influence woven into the fabric of countless worlds. They will regroup, and when they do, they will seek vengeance. Kane's jaw tightened. We're prepared for that. I believe you are, Krenthar said. But preparation alone may not be enough. The Council's reach extends far beyond what even you have seen. If humanity is to survive, you will need allies, true allies, bound not by convenience but by shared purpose. Kane studied the alien leader carefully. And you're offering that? Krenthar inclined his head. The Corran have long sought a partner worthy of standing beside us. We believe humanity may be that partner. Together we could reshape the balance of power in this galaxy. No longer would the Council dictate the terms of existence. We would build something new, something just. Kane considered the offer. The idea of a lasting alliance with the Corran was tempting. Their military prowess was legendary, their fleets vast and formidable, but trust was not something Kane gave lightly. What's the catch, he asked. Krenthar chuckled, a low rumble that echoed in the chamber. No catch, Admiral, only a request that we fight together as equals and that we share in the spoils of our victories. The Corran do not take betrayal lightly, but we reward loyalty tenfold. Kane extended his hand. Then you've got yourself an ally. Krenthar clasped Kane's forearm in a gesture of mutual respect. May this be the beginning of a new era. Back on Earth, the news of the alliance spread quickly. While some were wary of trusting an alien species so soon after the war, others saw it as a necessary step toward securing humanity's future. The Sigma fleet began joint training exercises with the Corran, their combined forces becoming a symbol of unity and strength. But the Galactic Council was not idle. In the shadows, they plotted their return to power. Spies infiltrated human and Corran territories, sowing seeds of discord and gathering intelligence. Rogue factions loyal to the Council launched guerrilla attacks targeting supply lines and diplomatic envoys. The galaxy teetered on the edge of chaos. In response, humanity and the Corran formed the Vanguard Coalition, a unified military and political entity dedicated to maintaining order and protecting their interests. The Coalition's emblem, a stylized phoenix rising from a field of stars, became a beacon of hope for oppressed civilizations across the galaxy. As the years passed, the Coalition grew stronger. New technologies were developed, blending human ingenuity with Corran craftsmanship. Colonies flourished under their protection, and more species began to join their cause, drawn by the promise of freedom and equality. But the scars of the past remained. Kane often found himself returning to the observation deck of the Erebus, staring out at the stars and wondering if they had truly done the right thing. The weight of leadership was heavy, and the memory of Lila never left him. One night, as he gazed at the swirling nebulae beyond, Voss joined him once again. "You're thinking about her, aren't you?" she asked softly. Kane nodded. She didn't deserve what happened to her. None of this would have happened if they hadn't. She became a symbol. Voss interrupted gently. Her death united us, gave us the strength to stand up to the Council. She may be gone, but her legacy lives on. Kane sighed. "I just hope it's enough." "It will be," Voss said firmly, "because we won't let it be anything else." For the first time in years, Kane allowed himself a small smile. The fight was far from over, but humanity had proven one thing beyond doubt. They were no longer the underdogs. They were survivors, warriors, builders of a new future, and no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The stars, once cold and distant, now seemed to burn brighter. Humanity's place among them was no longer in question. They had claimed it, earned it, and they would defend it with everything they had. As the years unfolded, the Vanguard Coalition solidified its position as a force to be reckoned with. The Galactic Council, though fractured and diminished, continued to operate in the shadows, biding their time and nursing their wounds. Their whispers reached the farthest corners of the galaxy, planting seeds of rebellion and fear among those who dared align themselves with humanity and the Corran. But humanity was no longer naive. They had learned from centuries of being underestimated, and now they were vigilant. Earth's brightest minds worked tirelessly to ensure that the Sigma fleet remained not just a symbol of power, but an evolving juggernaut of innovation. The ships that had once been considered marvels of engineering were now mere prototypes for even greater designs. The Erebus itself underwent upgrades, its hull reinforced with adaptive nanomaterials capable of self-repair, its weapons systems enhanced with energy conduits that could draw directly from nearby stars. The Coalition wasn't merely preparing for war, it was building a future. Diplomatic missions reached out to species long oppressed by the Council, offering them sanctuary and a voice in this new order. Trade routes flourished, connecting worlds that had once been isolated under the Council's rigid control. For the first time in millennia, there was hope, a fragile, flickering light in the vast darkness of space. Yet beneath the surface of progress, tensions simmered. Not all humans were comfortable with the rapid integration of alien species into their society. Old prejudices, buried but not forgotten, began to resurface. Some questioned the wisdom of trusting the Corran so deeply, fearing that their warrior culture might one day turn against humanity. Others worried that humanity's newfound power would corrupt them, making them no better than the Council they had fought to overthrow. Admiral Kane was acutely aware of these divisions. He spent countless hours in meetings, mediating disputes and addressing concerns. His leadership was unwavering, but the weight of his responsibilities grew heavier with each passing day. The burden of uniting not just humanity, but an entire coalition of disparate species was immense. One evening, as he sat alone in his quarters aboard the Erebus, a message came through on his private channel. It was encrypted with the highest level of security, marked urgent. Kane activated the holographic display, and the face of High Warlord Krenthar appeared before him. "Kane," Krenthar said, his tone grave, "we have a problem." "What is it?" Kane asked, leaning forward. "Our scouts have detected unusual activity near the rimward expanse," Krenthar explained. "A fleet, larger than anything we've seen before, is amassing. We believe it's the remnants of the Council, rallying their forces for a counterattack." Kane's jaw tightened. Do we have any intel on their capabilities? Not much, Krenthar admitted, but our spies report that they've been experimenting with forbidden technologies, artifacts from the ancient precursors who vanished eons ago. If they've managed to harness that power. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Kane understood the implications all too well. The precursor artifacts were relics of a civilization so advanced that their technology bordered on magic. Humanity had encountered a few such artifacts during their early explorations, and while they had unlocked incredible advancements from them, they had also learned to respect their dangers. In the wrong hands, such power could devastate entire star systems. We can't let them gain the upper hand, Kane said firmly. If they're preparing for war, then so are we. The coalition mobilized with unprecedented speed. Fleets from dozens of allied species converged at strategic points across the galaxy, their combined firepower forming a defensive net around key territories. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, developing countermeasures against the rumored precursor technologies. On Earth, recruitment centers overflowed with volunteers eager to defend their homeworld. Kane called a meeting of the coalition's leadership aboard the Erebus. The war room was a hive of activity. Holographic displays projecting maps of the galaxy and tactical simulations. Representatives from every member species were present, their diverse forms creating a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes. Despite their differences, they shared a common purpose. We stand at a crossroads, Kane began, his voice commanding the room's attention. The Council is desperate. They know they can't win a conventional war, so they're turning to methods that could threaten us all. This isn't just about humanity or the Corran. This is about the survival of everything we've built together. High Warlord Krenthar stepped forward, his imposing figure casting a long shadow. The Corran have faced many enemies, but none as insidious as the Council. They will use fear and deception to divide us. We must remain united, or we will fall. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Kane nodded. Our strength lies in our unity, but we can't afford to be reactive. We need to take the fight to them. He gestured to one of the holographic displays which zoomed in on the rimward expanse. This is where they're gathering. It's a region of space filled with anomalies, gravitational distortions, unstable wormholes. It's dangerous territory, but it also gives them cover. If we're going to strike, we'll need to do it carefully. The plan was bold, a coordinated assault on the Council's hidden stronghold, using the Coalition's most advanced ships and tactics. It would be risky, but the alternative, allowing the Council to consolidate their power, was unthinkable. The journey to the rimward expanse was fraught with peril. The Coalition fleet navigated treacherous regions of space, encountering gravitational rifts that threatened to tear their ships apart. Along the way, they discovered evidence of the Council's activities, abandoned research stations, derelict ships, and signs of brutal experiments conducted on unwilling subjects. When they finally arrived at the Council's stronghold, what they saw defied belief. A massive structure, unlike anything ever recorded, loomed before them. It was a fortress built around a colossal precursor artifact, a sphere of pulsating energy that seemed to warp reality itself. The Council's fleet surrounded it, their ships bristling with weaponry augmented by the artifact's power. Kane stood on the bridge of the Erebus, his expression grim. All ships, prepare for battle. This is it. The ensuing conflict was chaos incarnate. The Council's ships unleashed weapons that bent the laws of physics, creating black holes and temporal distortions, but the Coalition fought back with equal ferocity, their unity and determination driving them forward. The Erebus led the charge, its upgraded systems allowing it to withstand the Council's onslaught. Amid the carnage, Kane realized that the artifact was the key. As long as it remained active, the Council would have the upper hand. He ordered a strike team to infiltrate the fortress and disable the artifact, knowing full well the risks involved. The team, composed of humans and Corran, breached the fortress under heavy fire. Inside, they encountered horrors beyond imagination, twisted abominations created by the artifact's power, but they pressed on, their resolve unshaken. At the heart of the fortress, they found the artifact. It pulsed with a malevolent energy, its surface covered in incomprehensible symbols. The team's scientists worked frantically to deactivate it, while the soldiers held off waves of Council forces. In the end, it was a human engineer, Lieutenant Sarah Vega, who cracked the artifact's code. With seconds to spare, she initiated a shutdown sequence, causing the artifact to implode in a burst of blinding light. The shockwave destroyed the fortress and disabled the Council's fleet, leaving them vulnerable to the Coalition's final assault. The battle was won, but the cost was staggering. Thousands of lives had been lost, and the scars of the conflict would linger for generations. Yet, in the aftermath, there was a sense of triumph. The Council's power had been broken, their grip on the galaxy shattered. Back on Earth, Kane addressed the Coalition in a broadcast that reached every corner of the galaxy. His face was lined with exhaustion, but his voice carried the weight of conviction. We have faced the darkness and emerged stronger. Together, we have proven that tyranny will not prevail. The galaxy is vast, and our journey is far from over. But today, we take the first step toward a future defined not by fear, but by hope. The stars, once cold and distant, now seemed closer than ever. Humanity and their allies had carved out a place among them, a place earned through sacrifice, resilience, and the unyielding belief that they could build something better. And as the Coalition looked to the horizon, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together.